The myth of masculine performance. From their earliest years, men are bombarded with the same idea, that they need to prove their masculinity through sex, to be strong, tireless, infinite. Culture transforms sex into a race, where only those who last the longest, show the most vigor, and behave like a machine win. But the problem is that this vision is far from real. It creates anxiety, frustration, and a cycle of pressure that silently destroys the confidence of many men. And the cruelest part is that, as they get older, this weight only increases. The body no longer responds the same way it did at 20. The breath is different. The rhythm is different. Then the fear arises. Can I still do it? Will I disappoint? And it is at this point that many get lost, because they haven't understood a simple truth. Sex is not about youth, it's about awareness. A man of 50, 60, or 70 can be much more powerful in the bedroom than a young man of 20. Not because he has more energy, but because he has more mastery. He no longer needs to prove anything to the world. He no longer needs to chase approval. He knows that pleasure is not measured in speed, but in depth. That it is not the quantity of movements that impresses, but the cadence. That it is not uncontrolled force that conquers, but the calm that sustains. Sex, for the mature man, is a field of discipline. It is where he trains the same patience that he carries to business, to family life, to his own health. It is not a 100-meter race, it is a marathon. It is not fireworks, it is a flame that burns slowly, but never goes out. That's why today we're going to talk about 9 positions that can completely transform the way you see intimacy. They are not just physical positions, but tools of control, cadence, and connection. They are resources that allow you to last longer without anxiety, lead without haste, and offer her something much greater than minutes of intensity, the memory of an unwavering presence. Before we continue, I want to ask you for something simple. Write in the comments your age and the city or country you are watching from. I want to get to know better who walks with me on this journey. Young men, perhaps, still think of this as technique. More mature men will already understand. It's a philosophy of life. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do it now. Because what we are going to talk about here is not empty talk. It's not miraculous promises. It's practical reflection for men who know that the body may age, but posture, discipline, and intensity can grow with time. Get ready, because you will discover that lasting longer is not a matter of age, but of presence, and that each of these positions can be transformed into a training of control, connection, and mutual respect. The truth about lasting longer: presence and rhythm. Behind every male anxiety in bed there is an illusion that sex should be a spectacle of speed and strength. This is the lie that we are told from an early age, and that transforms many encounters into disputes with oneself. The man enters the room already worried, already measuring the time, already wondering if he will last. And when the mind enters this state, the body obeys. It becomes anxious, hurries, and ends before its time. But the truth is that the secret to lasting longer is not in momentary tricks, nor in pharmaceutical miracles. It is in what the ancient philosophers called self-government, the ability to master one's own impulses. It is learning to transform haste into calm, lack of control into cadence, anxiety into breathing. Think of a warrior on the battlefield. He doesn't win because he attacks first and blindly, but because he waits for the right moment. He assesses, breathes, controls the energy. If he spent it all at once, he would fall in minutes. Sex, for the mature man, works the same way. Whoever tries to impress with intensity wears out quickly. Whoever sustains the rhythm, even if slow, becomes unforgettable. Modern studies confirm this. When breathing slows down, the body understands that it is not at risk, and the nervous system maintains control for much longer. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly. Keep the beat. The simple act of breathing correctly can transform minutes into a prolonged and solid experience. And here is something that many ignore. Most women do not want uncontrolled speed. What they really seek is presence. They want to feel that you are there completely, not running after a quick relief. They want contact, cadence, attention. For them, intensity without rhythm is noise. What remains in the memory is the calm gesture, the conscious pause, the firm gaze. Therefore, before we get into the 9 positions, you need to understand, lasting longer is not a matter of isolated technique. It is a matter of mental posture. It is deciding that you will dictate the beat, that you will not be carried away by impulse, that each movement will be a choice and not an anxious reflex. Reflect. How many times have you lost control due to haste? How many times have you felt that you could have gone further if you had only breathed better and waited a few seconds more? This awareness is what separates the common man from the unforgettable man. Position 1. The surrender. The first position we will explore is known worldwide as cowgirl, but here we will call it the surrender position. In it, the woman assumes the physical role of leading the movement, while you learn the true meaning of internal control. Many younger men see this position as passivity. They believe that by not being in command of the movement, they have lost power. But the mature man understands something that the immature do not perceive. Giving space is not losing authority. It is, in fact, a proof of trust and self-confidence. When she is on top, you have the opportunity to focus on what really matters. Breathing, calm, eye contact, conscious touches. As the intensity of the movement depends more on her, the stimulus on you decreases. This naturally prolongs the time, gives room to control the body and sustain the experience. And there is another powerful detail. For many women, this is one of the most exciting positions. Being on top gives them the freedom to find the ideal angle, to decide the rhythm that pleases them the most, to feel in command for a few moments. This increases their confidence and at the same time reinforces in you the posture of a present man who is not afraid to surrender control because he knows that he continues to be the foundation. This position also allows for strategic pauses. You can hold her waist, guide the movement subtly, look firmly into her eyes, caress her body calmly. When you feel that the limit is approaching, you can decrease the rhythm with a gesture, or even reverse the role naturally. This silent communication creates connection, avoids haste, and transforms the experience into something much greater than a race to climax. The surrender position is, therefore, a school. It teaches that sex is not a dispute of strength, but a dialogue of rhythms. It teaches that it is not necessary to always be in command to be a leader. True mastery is not in the muscles, but in the ability to be whole, present, and calm. Reflect. How many times have you allowed yourself to just feel, instead of trying to prove something? How many times have you given space without fear of seeming weak? Perhaps it's time to rediscover that sometimes surrendering is the most powerful way to dominate. Position 2. The silence of the encounter. Few postures convey as much silent intimacy as this one. Known as spooning, it is the one in which the two lie on their side, you behind her, in a fit that resembles that of two spoons. Here, we will call it the silence of the encounter, because that is exactly what it represents. Proximity without spectacle, calm without noise, connection without the need for words. Unlike positions where the focus is on intensity or performance, this is the position of presence. It is the posture in which you can simply breathe together, follow the rhythm of her breathing, feel her heartbeat accelerating slowly. The penetration is shorter, less intense, and this, far from being a defect, is precisely the advantage. The smaller the stimulus, the greater the control. You gain time, cadence, and stability. And for her, this position is much more than physical pleasure. It's protection. It's the body glued to her back, the arm that surrounds her, the feeling of being guarded in silence. Sex ceases to be just desire and becomes also rest, trust, surrender. The mature woman values this. She seeks not only unbridled intensity, but the calm that only a secure man can transmit. The silence of the encounter also opens space for small actions that increase the connection. You can kiss her neck, whisper words of truth, caress her shoulders, hold her hand firmly. These simple gestures create deep emotional memories. Her body will remember the feeling of being surrounded, protected, desired without haste. And the most powerful thing is that this posture requires little physical effort. For the man who no longer has the same energy as before, this is a huge advantage, but it requires in return total attention. You need to be present. You can't let your mind escape. You can't turn the moment into routine. It is concentration that transforms silence into intensity. Think about it. What is more striking? Minutes of hurried intensity or long moments of calm that let desire accumulate until it becomes inevitable? The answer is obvious to those who have lived both. The silence of the encounter is, in the end, a metaphor for life. Whoever runs too fast misses the detail. Whoever breathes together realizes that the detail is what remains. Position 3. Face to face. Now imagine yourself lying on your side, facing her. Your eyes meet, your faces get closer. Your breath mixes. This is the so-called side by side, which here we will call face to face. This position is the opposite of haste. There is no room for exaggeration, nor for intense movements. The penetration is short, the body is close, the eyes remain fixed. Pleasure ceases to be just physical and becomes deeply emotional. Because, in this format, every second is marked by direct connection. Eye contact in this position is a powerful weapon. It dismantles barriers, creates vulnerability, exposes intentions. A woman never forgets the gaze of a man who stares at her during the act, not with arrogance, but with serene presence. This look says, "I am here, whole, nothing distracts me." It is rare, and that is exactly why it is unforgettable. Another advantage of this position is that it allows for natural pauses. You can interrupt the movements for a few seconds, hold her face firmly, kiss her slowly, or just stay there, breathing together. These pauses do not break the moment. On the contrary, they intensify it. The expectation increases, the desire grows in silence, and when the movement returns, everything seems more intense. And there is something even deeper. This position allows for real communication. It is possible to whisper in her ear, ask softly if she likes it, exchange words that only make sense at that moment. Sex, here, becomes a conversation without filters, in which the language is mixed, body, breath, and word. For the mature man, this position is strategic because it facilitates control. The stimulus is smaller, the rhythm is easier to dictate, and the proximity helps to perceive each of her reactions. You learn to listen to her body without having to ask anything. Face-to-face is also a metaphor. It is the reminder that sex is not just about bodies that meet, but about souls that recognize each other. And a man who has already understood this knows that he doesn't need to be fast, he just needs to be present. Reflect. How many times have you sought intensity and forgotten to seek depth? Perhaps depth is precisely what was missing. Position 4. The crossing. Visualize the bodies forming an X. You lying down, her across, with her hips over yours, legs extended in opposite directions. This is the so-called cross position, which here we will call the crossing. At first glance, it may seem uncomfortable or even strange, but it is precisely this unusual arrangement that gives power to this position. The crossing creates natural limits. The movements cannot be long or too fast. The contact is constant, but contained. And it is in this containment that the man finds the key to lasting longer. Many men confuse intensity with pleasure. They think they need to move fast, penetrate deep, accelerate as if they were in a race. But this mentality is precisely what makes them lose control. The crossing teaches the opposite. Pleasure is not in haste, but in mastering the rhythm. For you, mature man, this position is strategic. As the movements are short and the amplitude is limited, the physical stimulus is reduced, allowing for greater resistance. You can stay calm, breathe deeply, dictate a slow pace. This not only prolongs the moment, but increases the psychological impact on her. The fact that you are in control of your own body. For her, this position is exciting precisely because of the novelty. It is not the standard that she is used to. The different angle stimulates different areas, creates a feeling of freshness, of something unexpected. And the unexpected, in the field of intimacy, is always powerful. Another important point is that this posture opens space for touches. As the physical effort is less, you can caress her legs, run your hand over her body calmly, Hold her firmly where you want. You can even alternate between physical movement and pauses in which only the touch leads. This transforms sex into something broader, in which each part of the body participates in the ritual. The crossing is, in the end, a Stoic metaphor. Discipline is limiting excess. Controlling intensity is the true test of strength. Ask yourself, how many times have you let yourself be carried away by impulse, losing the moment too quickly? Perhaps what was missing was not energy, but containment. Position 5. The calm dominance. The classic version of doggy style is perhaps the most famous of all. Intensity, strength, dominance. But it is also one of the most dangerous for the man who wants to last longer, because the depth and speed accelerate the stimulus too much. That's where the variation that few know comes in. The calm dominance. The position is the same, her on all fours, you behind. The difference is in the rhythm. Instead of fast and deep movements, you reduce the intensity, limit the depth, and lengthen the breathing. Each advance is slow, each retreat is conscious, each pause is strategic. The body learns not to run, but to sustain. For you, the benefit is clear. Less stimulus, more time. Instead of getting lost in seconds, you can prolong for minutes, maintaining internal control. This posture is a patience training, because it requires you to go against the natural impulse. And every patience training strengthens the mind. For her, the effect is different. The expectation increases. The absence of haste makes each movement more felt, more valued. Her body begs for more, precisely because you are not delivering everything at once. This containment creates a tension that can be even more pleasurable than immediate intensity. The calm dominance also opens space for contact beyond penetration. You can caress her back, hold her waist firmly, slide your hands down her legs. You can alternate between soft kisses on her neck and breathing close to her ear. All of this intensifies the connection and transforms the moment into something memorable. Many young men believe that dominating is accelerating, but the mature man knows that dominating is controlling, and true control is not in strength, but in calm. This posture is the translation of that. The leadership that doesn't shout, but sustains. Reflect. Are you used to proving power with speed, or have you already discovered the strength of showing control with calm? This is the difference between being forgotten and being remembered. Position 6. Her lead. This position is a direct relative of the first one we saw, but here the focus is different. In the cowgirl, the highlight was the strategic surrender, the learning to yield. Now in the classic version of her lead, the goal is to allow the woman not only to lead, but to reveal how much she likes to take the lead. In this posture, you lie down and let her choose the rhythm. Unlike the first, here the emphasis is not only on prolonging the time, but on building trust. The woman feels free to test movements, accelerate or decelerate, vary angles. And this is highly exciting for many because it offers the feeling of complete autonomy. For you, mature man, this position is a gift. It requires little physical effort on your part, which naturally conserves energy and helps to control the stimulus. At the same time, it is an opportunity to observe, to breathe deeply, to perceive how her body reacts in each variation. It is a kind of silent laboratory in which you learn even more about her desires. But there is a crucial detail. Many men err in this position because they believe that it is enough to lie down and let it roll. The mistake is in becoming too passive, almost absent. The real difference is in participating, even without leading, holding her waist, guiding her gaze, caressing her calmly, whispering words that feed the atmosphere. This active participation, even without dictating the rhythm, is what transforms the experience into real connection. Another point is that this position offers you the chance to regain control at any moment. If you feel that your body is about to exceed the limit, just decrease the intensity of the touch. Close your eyes for a few seconds, focus on your breathing. While she continues to lead, you reorganize internally. It is proof that, even in apparent passivity, you are in command of yourself. In the end, her lead is an exercise in mutual trust. It shows that you are not afraid to share the spotlight, that your masculinity does not depend on always being on top, For the woman, this is a sign of security. For you, it is a training in discipline. Position 7. Chair face to face. Imagine yourself sitting in a sturdy chair, feet flat on the floor, body erect. She sits facing you, on top of you, legs wrapped around you, arms resting on your shoulders. This is the chair position, and it is perhaps one of the most intimate of all. The first detail that makes it special is the proximity of the faces. You are face to face, eyes in eyes, breath meeting, mouths within constant reach. This transforms sex into a silent dialogue, full of emotional nuances. It is as if each movement is accompanied by a look that asks and answers at the same time. From a physical point of view, the chair is strategic because it gives you a huge advantage in control. The greater effort is with her, who leads the movements with her hips, while you remain stable. This reduces the direct stimulus on you and increases your resistance. At the same time, the firmness of the chair gives security to sustain her body calmly, without haste. But there's more. This position favors the use of hands in an intense way. You can hold her waist firmly, run your hand over her back, caress her hair, explore every detail of her body. The chair creates an atmosphere in which sex is not limited to movement, but expands into a game of touches, kisses, and presence. Another powerful point is communication. Sitting face to face, it is easier to speak softly, guide, lead with words. The woman feels close, involved, part of a ritual that is both physical and emotional. And for you, it is another opportunity to use calm as a weapon. Many men underestimate this position because it requires less physical vigor. But that is exactly why it is so strategic for those who want to last longer. Energy is preserved, control is total, and the climate of intimacy is elevated to the maximum. Reflect. Have you ever tried to transform the chair into an altar? Have you noticed how the simplicity of sitting face to face can create one of the most intense experiences of intimate life? The answer is not in exaggeration, but in proximity. Position 8. The ritual of non-penetrative friction. We have reached a posture that challenges the mentality of many men. Intimacy without penetration. Throughout our lives, we have been conditioned to believe that sex is only valid when there is direct penetration. But this view is limited. Pleasure is not in a single gesture, but in the sum of sensations. That's where the ritual of non-penetrative friction comes in. Here, the bodies remain glued together, but the focus is on external friction. It can be hip against hip, thigh against intimate area, slow and constant circular movements. For many men, this variation seems secondary, almost dispensable. But, for the woman, it can be extremely exciting. This is because it stimulates nerve endings in a different way, increasing arousal without immediate physical wear. For you, mature man, the benefit is even greater. By reducing direct penetration, the stimulus on you decreases, which naturally prolongs your resistance. Meanwhile, her pleasure grows, the tension increases, and the climate intensifies. This game of patience creates expectation. And expectation, in itself, is already pleasure. This position is also valuable because it challenges the impulse to rush to climax. You learn to control, to hold back, to value the process. Each movement becomes a choice, not an instinct. Each pause is an invitation to feel more. It is a practical training in discipline, as important as any physical exercise. And here is a detail that few realize. Often, a woman's memory is not of the penetration itself, but of the moments when you made her feel desired without haste. This type of contact is recorded because it is rare. Most men ignore it. The man who discovers this secret doesn't. The ritual of non-penetrative friction is, in the end, a metaphor for life. It is not always the destination that matters, but the intensity of the path. Position 9. Creative friction, variations outside the bed. The last position we will address is less about technique and more about creativity. We will call it creative friction. Here, the proposal is to get out of the routine, explore different angles, different environments, different forms of contact. It can be standing, leaning against a wall, sitting on a sofa, or even on unexpected surfaces. The central point is not the exact position, but the attitude, transforming any environment into a stage of intimacy. Creative friction challenges the couple to break the monotony, to get out of the predictability of the bed, to discover that pleasure can be born anywhere where there is contact, presence, and desire. For you, mature man, this has a double effect. First, it reduces the focus on intense penetration, which naturally increases your resistance. Second, it creates an atmosphere of novelty that renews the energy of the encounter. The body reacts differently when it is on new ground. The mind remains more attentive, more awake, more involved. For her, creative friction is a sign of audacity. It shows that you have not settled down, that you are still looking to surprise, that you transform even the everyday into a ritual. This generates psychological excitement, perhaps even greater than the physical, because it shows attitude, and attitude is what marks the most. An important detail: it is not about acrobatics or exaggerations. It is not about demonstrating youth with improbable poses. It is about adapting, innovating, creating small variations that bring freshness. A change of angle, a change of place, is enough to break the routine and rekindle the fire. Reflect. When was the last time you broke the pattern? When was the last time you surprised without having to say anything? Creative friction is that chance to show that there is still energy, imagination, and presence. In the end, this position is more than physical. It is mental. It is the reminder that sex, like life, needs renewal. Closing. Sex as Spartan discipline. We have reached the end of this journey, and perhaps now you already realize that we have not only talked about positions, we have talked about something much bigger: discipline, self-control, presence. The 9 postures we explored are tools, but what really transforms intimacy is not the technique, it is the mentality. The man who faces sex as a race is doomed to frustration. He enters anxious, gets lost in the rhythm, and ends too quickly, like a warrior who wastes all his energy in the first attack. The man who faces sex as discipline, on the other hand, wins, because he understands that it is not about haste, but about control. It is not about quantity, but about quality. It is not about proving something to the world, but about being whole at that moment. And this is one of the greatest advantages of the mature man. While the younger ones try to impress with strength and speed, you can impress with calm and presence. You can transform minutes into eternity just with the right rhythm, with the cadenced breathing, with the ability to look into the eyes and sustain the silence. Think of Sparta. The warriors were not respected only for their physical strength, but for their discipline. They were trained to resist, to endure, to control their own bodies even in the most extreme situations. In the bedroom, this same discipline can be applied. Each movement is an exercise in patience. Each pause is a test of self-control. Each choice is a reminder that whoever masters himself masters any situation. Lasting longer is not a matter of age. It is a matter of posture. It is the conscious choice to breathe deeply when the impulse screams. It is the decision to lead the rhythm instead of getting lost in it. It is the courage to transform intimacy into a ritual and not into a passing explosion. And here is what really matters. A woman will not remember the exact time in minutes, but the feeling of being in the arms of a man who did not let himself be dominated by impulse. She will remember the look, the touch, the calm that he transmitted. She will remember how she felt safe, desired, and respected. That is what marks. That is what remains. Now I want you to make a commitment to yourself. Write the word control in the comments. This will be the symbol of the men who understood that sex is not just physical pleasure, but emotional discipline. That it is not enough to seek intensity. It is necessary to seek presence. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe now. Here, we talk about real life, without masks, without easy promises. We talk about clarity, posture, mature strength. Content that does not feed illusions, but awakens men who know that life is not over. On the contrary, it is just beginning a new phase, more conscious, more selective, and more powerful. Stay on the screen, because in moments another video will appear that complements this theme and will deepen this journey even further. See you there, Spartan.